Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys are having a great time. Don't eat too much. don't put too many sugars in your tea like me. Anyway, listen, guys. The world's economy. The central bank is the biggest central bank on earth, the United States Central Bank, the Federal Reserve. And they've lost control. I'm going to use an illustration to try to illustrate just exactly how they've lost control. Picture if a family was going to take vacation in their minivan, you know. They have 4 kids in the back seat, and they're all playing with their cell phones and stuff. The wife is sitting next to the husband. The husband's name's Harry. He's driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour. They're on their way to the vacation cabin. All of a sudden, Harry notices the steering wheel will not steer to the right. Can't turn right. Something strange with this car. You know? One of these newer cars. Anyway, he goes to put his foot on the brake. The brake pedal falls to the floor. Nothing. He goes to take his foot off the gas. Nothing happens. The engine continues to accelerate. And he notices he can only steer left. He can't steer right. So he can't get over to get into the... Right? So he's stuck there. And all of a sudden, his face turns white as a sheet. His wife looks over at him and he says, "What's wrong, honey? What's wrong?" She says. He says, "I can't steer this car properly. I can only steer in one direction." It's awful driving a machine like that. I've had stuff happen to me. You know, when I was just a learning driver very early on, this is way back around 1977 or 78, something like that. I had this little white Pinto going down the road. Now, I was a fairly inexperienced driver. And so I used to push the gas pedal down, you know how young drivers goose it? I goosed it and the gas pedal stuck to the floor. Car took off. Because I was an inexperienced driver, I didn't really know what to do other than steer. Gas pedal was stuck on the floor, and I was flying down the highway faster and faster. And the experienced driver would know to take the thing out of gear, you know, but I couldn't think. I mean, the car was just, I only think about steering, you know, the gas pedal was stuck. Anyway, it's very scary. But this situation is similar for the Fed. Remember, the car can only steer in one direction? The steering wheel for the Fed is interest rates. If inflation starts to heat up, they raise interest rates. If inflation starts to cool down, they start to go toward deflation, they lower interest rates. That's their steering wheel. This is what's happened. They tried raising interest rates. Right? They had to stop. Can't do it. So they can't steer but one direction now, to lower rates. The mechanism's broken. What about the credit markets? You know, that's like the brake pedal falling to the floor. No brakes. The credit markets are broken. This is what the repo thing's all about. Credit markets are broken. They only have one option, print money. That's the gas pedal. Printing money. And remember, the old fellow, he took his foot off the gas, nothing happened. The car continued to accelerate. That's the gas pedal. That's the control. They don't have any control over the gas anymore. They can't take their foot off the pedal. They have to keep their foot on the pedal or the whole economy would collapse. It all has to do with the way the whole thing is structured. Now, if we go back to 2008, this is where the crisis actually originated. What we were going through is, back in the Great Depression of 1929 when the stock market fell, that was the end of a long-term credit cycle. Now, you go through short-term credit cycles, and you go through long-term credit cycles. The only real difference between the long-term credit cycle and the short-term credit cycle is the build-up and pressure on the system being over-leveraged. In 1929, the system was massively over-leveraged. It's like waves on the ocean. You look at the credit cycle, it's like waves on the ocean. There's smaller waves. Now, if you're on the shore and there's waves on the ocean, you can count the waves, and about every 7th or 8th wave is a big wave, extra large. And then there'll be a bunch of smaller waves. That's like the credit cycle. Get a bunch of smaller waves that come every 10 years. Wave, wave, wave. They're not that big. And then all of a sudden you get a great big monster wave. That is the long-term credit cycle. What happened in 2008 was we got another long-term credit cycle breaking, a big breaking wave. And this causes not a recession. See, in the short-term credit cycle, you get these recessions. That's the short-term wave of the credit cycle. But when you get the big long-term wave come in, that's the big wave, that causes a depression. So what we were going to head into in 2008 was a depression. What they did is they mitigated the depression. They stopped it with money creation. But it even gets worse. It wasn't going to be an ordinary depression in 2008. And the reason why is because of this expansionist monetary policy. The way the system is structured from the get-go, it's designed so that the monetary base and the world base, not just the monetary base, but the base of everything in the world, industry, factories, factory production, plants, when they put plants in and they put in stores and retail sales and everything else, has to continue to grow with the monetary base. What happened in 2008 is the world is limited in its size. And they expanded out, and they basically, how the world functions is, it harvests resources. The world's resources. And the monetary base grows accordingly with the harvesting of the world's resources. But the world is only limited in scope. The best resources get harvested first. And so up until 2008, the world was growing and harvesting resources. Massive amounts of resources. Coal, gold, silver, oil, everything. They're just harvesting, right? What happened was the world is limited in scope, and they reached the limit. It reached the maximum, like a maximum of resource harvestation. And after they go in and they harvest resources, and if they come in a second time, the resources aren't as plentiful as the first time that they go in and harvest. Like if it's a big, say it's a big tree harvesting operation. They go in the first time, when they first go in, and the trees are huge. They're so big you can't put your arm around them. So they go in and they harvest them all. Then they come in the second time, the trees aren't half as big. Come in the third time, and they're just harvesting saplings. This is the way it works. So what happened in 2008, we were hitting the limit, or the peak, of world harvesting of resources, and all the industry that comes from that. In other words, the world had grown, and the world started to shrink back. Well, the monetary base started to shrink back, and this is called deflation. It started to deflate. The Fed come in, and what they did was they artificially expanded the monetary base without expanding the actual world harvesting. China helped tremendously. They created an artificial growth in their own economy by creating ghost cities, infrastructure programs that went to nowhere, bridges that go to nowhere. They just constructed up the yin-yang, just up the yahoo. It's just construction everywhere, using tremendous amounts of cement, using tremendous amounts of copper, steel, everything else. And they put it all on your tab. China just basically created an enormous tab. That's a one-trick pony. They can't do that again. But they really helped a lot because they simulated the world still expanding. And because they created all this money, the Fed did in 2008, and China helped by their expansion, What they did was they brought the world somewhat out of the malaise that it was going into. Well, about 11 years have passed since then. And now what's happening is the entire world is going through what they call a slowdown. And the slowdown is a contraction. It's the same contraction that we faced in 2008, but we're facing it again. But what multiplies it and makes it a lot worse is we're at the end of the long-term credit cycle, just like we were in 2008. Actually, what happened was we ran into the end of the long-term credit cycle back in 2008. They stopped it, but they only just delayed it. And it's actually grown bigger. They've taken a problem, and by delaying it for these last 11 years, they've grown it exponentially larger. So what's happening in the repo market is that bubble's starting to burst. So what we have is we have multiple layers of problems coming in simultaneously. And now the Fed has lost control over the economic engine that drives all of this. I say, well, what are they going to do? Well, it's obvious what they're going to do. The same thing they did back in 2008. Back in 2008, they expanded the monetary base. They papered over the entire problem. But that's only a simulation of real economic growth. And what's happened is they've created a divide now. A divide in the economy. There's the side of the economy that's in the money pool that's getting the cheap zero interest rate money. And now soon, the way interest rates are going to be going, those people that are into that money pool are actually going to be it's going to pay them to borrow. The more they borrow, the more it's going to pay them. Whereas the average consumer, the other side of the economy, is shrinking back tremendously. Well, there's a discrepancy here between these two sides of the economy. And the discrepancy comes in actual head count of people. So the side of the economy that's being sucked dry and is not receiving any of the money is the side of the economy where the most people live on, that side of the fence. That's like the 99% of the people. So they extremely outnumber the ones on the other side of the fence that are in the money pool. This condition is going to only get worse as time progresses. So we got that discrepancy as well. We got enormous problems coming up that can only be solved in one direction. And I'm going to explain all about that right now. The Fed has to continue to feed money into the system. Because what's going to start happening is pension funds that needed to make 7% have invested heavily in these over-leveraged corporate bond markets. And they've also chased yield in an awful lot of other places as well. The pension funds are going to start to run dry. And there's an awful lot of the United States is running into a wall with their debt. They have an awful lot of what's called unfunded liabilities. It exceeds $100 trillion worth of these unfunded liabilities. These unfunded liabilities are connected to people out there on the 99 side of the fence that's not receiving the money. They cannot just tell those people, hey, the money's not there. That would be a default. So the people that I'm talking about are people that, like, maybe you receive a Social Security check. Maybe your pension fund is going to pay you out at a certain time. We also have demographics working at us at the same time, where more of these baby boomer people are starting to retire, and they're going to want their pensions. They're going to want their Social Security checks. They're going to want to dip into the pool of unfunded liabilities the United States has. The United States then has a choice. Choice is going to come up. Do we pay these people or do we not pay these people? Because we don't have the money anymore. The money pool's drying up. And this is a problem. So, where are they going to receive an answer? What's their answer going to be? Are they going to default on the U.S. Treasuries? Are they going to... Now, to get the answer to all of this, you have to take a look at what they've done in the past. When 2008, everything started to dry up. Money and liquidity started to pour out of the system was crashing. They said if they had not responded within 2 hours, the whole system would have melted down into a deflationary event that would have been uncontrollable. But they poured money into it. Massive amounts of money. Bailouts. Left and right. Well, right now, they're already showing you what they're going to do. They're bailing out the credit markets right now through the repo operations. This is going to continue. It's going to get massively worse. Simultaneously, we have the erosion of the petrodollar and the dollar standard around the world. People do not, in these other countries, they're really upset because the dollar has been used as a tool, as a punishment tool. And they're starting to pull away from the dollar as fast as they can. A lot of these countries like Russia, China, are pulling away from the dollar. You know? They're going to dump their treasuries. And they're going to try to invest in things like gold. Ultimately, in the end, it's going to be complete monetization by the Fed. They're going to have to buy all the treasuries. They're going to have to completely monetize their own debt, ultimately. But there's more. All of these pension funds and unfunded liabilities I was talking about. Do you really believe that they're going to say, well, sorry, all you people that are on Social Security, you're going to have to not receive your Social Security check? Which politician's going to step out first and say that? Which one's going to stand behind a microphone and tell all the pensioners in the United States that they're not going to receive their Social Security check? Who? I want to see who he is. Come on up. I want to see who you are. Who are you going to stand and tell them that? They're not going to do that. Are you kidding? The trouble they would cause themselves if they default on their unfunded liabilities? But now there is an easy way out. Just print the money. Pay the Social Security checks. And they already have their foot right down hard on the money creation accelerator. The gas pedal. Why not? Just print more. I mean, if you're in the business, take a look at the U.S. debt ceiling every year. What do? Oh, there's a big stink about it. Oh, the debt ceiling's gonna collapse and the world's gonna collapse and everything. And it's always coming up right soon. We're gonna reach the debt ceiling. Oh, we're gonna reach the debt ceiling. And then what do every time? They borrow more. They extend it and pretend. Extend and pretend. You think this is gonna stop? This is not only not gonna stop, this is gonna grow exponentially larger. At the same time that the dollar's being dumped. And a lot of these dollars are going to start to wash back home again. We are going to go through a very small, very short period of deflationary pressure caused by the stock market starting to roll over next year when news comes from China of just how bad things really are in China. It's going to affect the stock market. I'm expecting the stock market to drop maybe a couple thousand points. And the reaction from the central bank is going to be nothing more than phenomenal. They're going to push their foot that much harder down on the accelerator. And when they do, watch the stock market come back again. Not only come back, it's going to surge. So I'm going to tell you guys ahead of time, when you see that drop in the stock market come, if your thing is the stock market, say that's your bag. It's not my bag. I'm not into the stock market, but say that's your bag. Say you love the stock market. You know, when you see that drop come, Ray Dalio, he's going to make out great from this drop that's coming. He's got it all set up for himself. I think it was 1.4 trillion billion. I mean, ready for it. He knows it's coming, and he's probably done more research on it than I have because he has people that do research for him. He probably knows exactly when the data's going to come out of China or whatever. He knows exactly when to buy whatever the options that when the stock market goes down that he's going to make out great. You know? But here's the thing. It ain't going to last long. It's going to go down, and they're going to bring her right back up. But not only bring her back up, they're going to create a rally like you've never seen before. They're going to rally that market back. And so, you know, if a guy was smart, I mean, I'm not giving financial advice right here. I'm not a financial advisor. But if a guy was smart, he would buy into the dip when it comes early next year. It's probably going to be a really big dip. A big dip. Buy into the bottom of the dip. And do really good because the central banks are all going to really come onto the gas pedal with money. That's going to push us in to the next phase of all of this. And that phase is a phase that can last for a couple years. It's called the acceleration phase. It's the acceleration phase it's the pre-stage for hyperinflation. It's the stage where you start to get runaway inflation. But it's not hyperinflation. The dollar's still the dollar. They're going to continue to pay off all those Social Security checks during this acceleration phase by printing new money. They're going to pay all their unfunded liabilities. And in fact, they might even start a whole bunch of new social programs and everything else. They're going to start pushing the money out big time. That's the acceleration phase, the lead-in period to the hyperinflation, and actually it can last a couple years. And this is the direction they're going to go in. They are not going to let everything default. They wouldn't dare. Because their office is on the line. Their job is on the line. Their livelihoods from sitting pat in their ivory tower is on the line. If they let it deflate. They're not going to do that. They can't. Possibly. So they're just going to keep pushing this envelope, keep creating more and more money in the end until they finally spiral us into a hyperinflation. Now, what's going to profit off of that? Because when we start going further and further deeper into this, we start to get closer and closer into the acceleration phase, and when everybody it's blatantly obvious because you go in for a hamburger, and last month it was $6.99, and this month it's $8.99. You know you're in the acceleration phase because you didn't bring enough money with you in your wallet to buy the hamburger. And you could have bought it just a few weeks ago. I mean, the price is going up that fast on everything. It's going to be obvious to everybody, and that's going to accelerate it because everybody's going to be wanting to spend their money as fast as they can. It goes faster and faster and faster. What's going to profit from all this? Well, gold and silver is the first thing that they're going to run to. That's the first thing that's going to profit from all this, is gold and silver. That's the first place the investors are going to go, is gold and silver. It's going to profit from this unbelievably. And why are they doing it? Why are they running to gold and silver? We want to get out of fiat. So, do you really believe that they're going to buy SLV and GLD? Because that's just a paper monetary product that's settled in fiat. They ain't going to buy that. They're going to want physical. Now, when this big storm, monster storm, worldwide heads for gold and silver, you know what's going to happen? They're going to gobble it all up so fast, it's going to be like It's going to be like a cherry cheesecake at a bridge party. Now, okay, you got to follow this logical progression. So the gold and silver's all gone. The price has gone sky high, but you can't get any. Not the real physical. Unless you got connections. So that's gone. Forget about that now. It's gone. It's all gone. The prices went to the moon. It's already up there on the moon, and nobody can get any. Okay, so what's left? Because there's going to be only 10% of the money is going to be consumed on the gold and silvers, and there's still 90% of all this liquidity pouring around out there, and these people are desperate to get out of this hyperinflation and try to find something to salvage onto that's going to be going up in value. Guess what's going to take all of that 90% after gold and silver's on the moon? Cryptocurrencies is going to suck up the rest. And the fiat monetary system then is going to go into a hyperinflation. And I believe that cryptocurrency is what's going to cause, once it gets the steamroller gets really going, and gold, silver first, and then cryptocurrencies, it's going to suck up all of that liquidity, and it's going to turn the dollar into confetti. And if you guys believe that they're going to ruin the cryptocurrencies by bringing out these new fiat versions of cryptocurrency, government issued, think again. Because it's just another version of the fiat, and the dollar's already digital. So they're going to digitalize it. Big deal. It's just more of the same. And if you think people are stupid enough to buy into that, they're not. It's not going to work. They're still going to head to the decentralized cryptocurrencies. And first, gold and silver. They're going to hit the gold and silver first, and then the decentralized cryptocurrencies, because this is separate from the regular monetary system. This is a monetary system that's running on its own engine. And they know it. One monetary system is going to be going down in flames, like an elevator shaft going on its way to hell. And the other is going to be going all the way up to heaven, the other elevator shaft. And nobody's going to want to get on that elevator shaft that's going down. So, you ever seen those pictures from Weimar, Germany, where they got a big wheelbarrow full of money and they can't buy a loaf of bread? That's what's coming, guys. And if you wait too long, you know, the really good stuff, the cheesecake with the cherry on top, is the gold and silver. But porridge will fill your stomach just as good. And that's the cryptocurrencies. It'll still fill your stomach. Both of them are available right now. Fiat's going down. But right now, while these markets are melting up, cryptocurrency, gold and silver, right now are on sale. And I don't see the prices actually getting that much better as long as these markets are melting up. Once we get that little shakedown in the markets is coming, and then the Fed restores confidence and they pour a bunch of money in, that's when the gold, silver, and cryptocurrency is going to take off. So you got your chance, guys. You got your chance. They're on sale. All of it's on sale right now. You can take the cheesecake with the cherry on top, right? Or you can take the bowl of porridge. Either way, you'll have something to eat when the crisis hits, and everybody else will be starving. Bye-bye, guys, and have a great Thanksgiving.